Welcome to Prep Central, New Mexico's premier high school sports show. This show is presented by Western New Mexico University. If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us continue to bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as on all your favorite platforms like YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. See the show notes for a discount on a digital subscription. We hope you'll consider that. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading local news source. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Preps Central, the Albuquerque Journal's high school sports podcast. I'm James Yodice. I am the prep editor at the Albuquerque Journal. Welcome back. First of all, it's been a few weeks since we have talked. I haven't been in studio for about 5 weeks since the end of football season last month. And now we focus on basketball for the next 2+ months. As I sit here today, it is Thursday, January 9th. We got about 9 weeks left in the regular season, or in the season complete. I've got a special guest in studio today, Kirtland Central girls basketball coach Devon Manning. He and I talk about a variety of things. Nice chat today, so I hope you will listen to that. Devon coached Kirtland Central to the state championship last year. Kirtland Central is in the Metro Championships this week, and one of the semifinal teams playing on Friday. We're going to talk about the Metro tournament as well. Semifinals for the boys on Friday at La Cueva, semifinals for the girls on Friday at Sandia. So, quick thought. One of the things I wanted to mention right off the top before we get to Coach Manning's interview, the Volcano Vista boys, I think this is worth mentioning, just returned from the Nike Tournament of Champions featuring Hoop Hall West, which was in the Phoenix metro area last weekend. Volcano Vista won its first game, lost its next two, both against teams from Southern California, which were the first two losses for Volcano Vista since losing to Cleveland in late December in the semifinals of the Hobbs Holiday Tournament. So it had been a while since Volcano had lost a game. They had a 28-game winning streak snapped. Both of their losses, they lost 69-60 to Redondo Union from Southern California, and then they lost in double overtime to a school named La Mirada, California, which actually had beaten Redondo last month. So Volcano Vista showed very well. They lost 2 games, but this tournament is massive. It's national. There were more than a dozen brackets in this tournament. Volcano Vista was in one of these. There were top national teams from all over the country spread out all across the Phoenix area in various brackets. So that was the big story as we started the new year. Volcano Vista went out of state, kind of like La Cueva's football team did at the start of the football season. Volcano Vista went out of state to test itself, which is fun. This is what we want. I mean, to be honest, we see Volcano Vista beat up on local teams all the time. It was good to see them stretch their legs and expand their boundaries and go play some nationally ranked teams. And they showed well. They showed extremely well. So that was one of the big highlights from January, early January last week. Of course, we're coming, since the last time we visited, we've had a boatload of holiday basketball tournaments pretty much throughout the month of December. A few takeaways real quick before we segue to Coach Manning. Gallup and Kirtland Central, the girls in Class 4A, pretty clear those are the top 2 teams there. Sandia remains undefeated as we sit here today. Them and Hobbs, clearly the 2 best teams in 5A, clearly. It'd be hard to imagine not seeing those 2 play in the championship game of the Metro Tournament on Saturday of this weekend. We have the Volcano Vista boys. Their 2 losses to nationally ranked teams aren't going to hurt them at all in terms of rating inside New Mexico. Sandia ranked number 2. Hobbs ranked number 3 by the coaches, number 2 by Max Preps. Hobbs and Volcano played actually on Tuesday night. We're going to talk about that shortly. The 4A boys division looks like it's going to be one of the more entertaining ones. It looks pretty wide open. One of the pieces of news I wanted to mention real quick, Highland, the defending state champion, their scoring guard, Jesus Licon, who has not yet played this year, he just last week got cleared to return to practice. He tore his ACL back in April during his club season. This is a kid that scored about almost 30 points a game for Highland last season. Highland has played some good basketball. Their record has suffered a bit, but they've played at a hard schedule. Lacone's return, and I do not know when that will be officially. It'll be sometime in January. is going to add an extra element to 4A basketball because there are some good teams in 4A out there. Here in the metro area, you're talking about Valley, you're talking about Highland, St. Pius among them. Hope Christian, which had a rough time this week in the Metro tournament, but they're still expected to be pretty strong. So we've got a lot of good 4A teams here in the Metro area. The return of Jesus Licon is something we're going to be talking about in future podcasts, but his return for Highland certainly bodes well for the Hornets, assuming that he can return to the level he was playing at last year when they won the state championship at the Pit over Valley in overtime. So, again, welcome back. I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It's good to be talking basketball again. And we're going to move right into our interview with Coach Devon Manning from Kirtland Central. A lot of great things he had to say today. Hey, everyone. Welcome. It's been a few weeks since we have visited. Took a break after football, so it's good to have everybody back with us for basketball season. We got about 9 weeks ahead of us here until we get to the Pit in March. I have a special guest here in studio today who I will introduce in 1 second. So as I sit down and record today, it is Thursday, January 9th. We are on the off day of the Albuquerque Metro Championships. We've already had 2 rounds, and then we'll have 2 more rounds Friday and Saturday. So we have reached the semifinals in Metros. So let's run it down real quick. I'll introduce my guest here in just a minute, who is a coach of one of the teams that is still remaining with a chance to win this. So on the boys' side, we've got Cleveland and Sandia that are going to play at 5:15 on Friday afternoon at La Cueva. At 7 o'clock, we will have Volcano Vista and Rio Rancho. Volcano Vista had a really tough scare from Hobbs in the first round on Tuesday night. Overcame a 13-point deficit in the second half to win. Volcano played much better in the quarterfinals against Cibola. They're playing a Rio Rancho team that's been just scalding hot in this tournament. Rio Rancho beat El Dorado on its home floor by 30 and then beat Hope Christian, a Jim Murphy team, beat them by 41 last night, Wednesday night, 97-56. So those 2 district rivals are going to play at 7 o'clock at La Cueva, the 5:15 game. Sandia, which only has the 1 loss to Volcano, and that was a game, if you remember, Sandia was up double digits at halftime against Volcano, much like Hobbs was the other night. Sandia just really beat up on Atrisco Heritage last night in the quarters. And Cleveland, which has been flying under the radar. Cleveland had a lot of turnover this year. A lot of new faces on this team, other than Remy Albrecht, their standout junior scoring guard. Cleveland and Coach Zach Holt have done a really good job so far this year. So Cleveland's coming off a pretty impressive win over La Cueva last night. I think it was 69-50. So we've got Cleveland and Sandia in the opener at La Cueva, and then Volcano and Rio Rancho. On the girls' side, semifinals will be at Sandia on Friday. That's where I'm going to be tomorrow, or today as you see this podcast being dropped. We have got a great matchup in the 5:15 game. That would be Sandia, undefeated Sandia, number 1 in Class 5A, playing Kirtland Central, ranked number 2 in 4A. Kirtland just has 1 loss to Rio Rancho last month when they were down here for Rio Rancho's tournament. So that's going to be an outstanding 5:15 game. And I suspect seats will be at a premium for this game, if I know Kirtland's fan base at all. And then at 7 o'clock, we've got Hobbs, which just has 1 loss, the opening day to Sandia. And Hobbs has won, I think, 13 in a row since then. So Hobbs and Coach Joe Carpenter are going to be playing in the 7 o'clock game against Rio Rancho. Rio Rancho had a close win last night over Albuquerque High in the quarterfinals. And, of course, Rio Rancho's head coach, Lori Mabry, she hasn't even had a chance to coach this year. She has been dealing with some personal trauma. Many of you probably know that her husband, Buster Mabry, the executive director of the New Mexico High School Coaches Association, died on December 30th after 6 or 7 weeks of being in the hospital with various complications. So Lori's dealing with a lot. I don't know when or where Lori might come back. I talked to her the other day, and I think she's just looking to take a break right now from basketball and just try and heal up a bit. But her team, Rio Rancho, who I had a chance to watch play Sandia last month in the championship game of the Rio Rancho tournament, this is a really good young team. I don't know that they're ready to win or contend for a 5A state title this year. They're probably not. But with the youth on this team, with the quality of the guards, including Maddie Martinez and her two sisters, Rio Rancho is a team that we're going to pay a lot of attention to over the next couple of months. This is a team that can play with just about anybody. So we've got Rio Rancho and Hobbs, 7 o'clock at Sandia High School on Friday. The first game, Kirtland Central at Sandia. And that is where we bring in my guest today, Devon Manning, the head girls basketball coach at Kirtland Central. Devon, good to see you. Thank you for coming in.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk. I had a chance to watch you play last night against La Cueva, and you won, I think, 55-36. You said an interesting thing to me. We were talking about the number of players that get involved in your team on the scoreboard, and you said an interesting thing. You said, I like it when I don't know who leads my team in scoring.
Yeah.
Explain this to me.
It just kind of goes with our philosophy of being unselfish, giving up a good shot for a great shot. We don't like to try to dictate our offense around one individual. We just kind of like to. We got a lot of really good, talented individual players, and so we try to let them just play, let them have a structure, but let them be the basketball players that they are. And it's just, like I said, we've played 12 games so far. I've probably had 6 or 7 different leading scorers this year. And like I said, if it's a good night if I don't know who's leading scorer.
So, it looks like a lot of Kirtland Central teams I've watched. Look, this is not a team that has a bunch of size, but you defend like crazy. Last night you turned over La Cueva a bunch in that first half, got out in transition, got yourself an early double-digit lead, which you pretty much had the entire night. This team defends so well. Can you talk a bit about that? Look, defense is an attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, you can teach the X's and O's part. Mm-hmm. Good defense comes from players who have that attitude.
Yeah, I agree.
Can you expand on that?
I think it's been a culture since I took over a few years ago as we got to be defense first. I've always had that philosophy. You can always dictate how you play defense every game. You can't really control if the shot's going in every game. You can't control what's going on the offensive end sometimes, but you can bring it every single night on the defensive side. And we call it, you need a bulldog mentality to play for us. You got to be able to go hard for 32 minutes we try to go hard 2.5, 3 minutes. Let's get you out, get you rested, and come out. And we got a lot of just, again, basketball players who've bought into our scheme that we like to do defensively. And these girls, I'm fortunate enough, these girls I have this year, they've played with each other since they were 5, 6 years old, traveling together and travel ball. And like I said, they just have a natural knack to playing some defense and trying to make some reads, some anticipation. And it's fun to watch when we're really clicking like we were last night. We can be very tough, and sometimes it doesn't always go our way defensively. We have to make some decisions, some adjustments during the game, but that's the type of style we want to play, is just like smothering basketball.
Yeah, my impression was you went about 10 or 11 deep. It was tough to tell when you rotated new players in. The level of basketball, to my eyes anyway, tended to be pretty similar throughout, no matter which five you had on the floor and which kid you were running in and out of the game. A lot of interchangeable pieces.
Yeah, we try not to skip a beat as much as we can whenever we have to go to our bench. We got a lot of there's a lot of girls on our team right now who come off the bench who would probably start for some other teams in the state. We're just right now we've been deep. I've been blessed with deep teams since I've been at Kirtland Central. And like I said, we try not to adjust anything. We try to make our girls play to what we want to do. And so if they want to play, it really just comes to the defensive side. If you buy in on the defensive side, we'll try to find minutes for you.
So this is your second tournament down here in the metro area this season. You were in Rio Rancho's tournament last month, and you're in metros, I think, for the first time. Was this a conscious decision on your part to play more games down here and find more quality competition between these two tournaments?
Yeah, definitely. I felt we needed to challenge this group. We got a very, very young group. freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. We got a few seniors on the group, but we're very young, and I just wanted these girls to get challenged and to play the best that the state has to offer, and we've done that so far. And obviously Friday night we're playing against one of the top 2 teams in the state, again with Sandia, and it really wasn't about wins and losses for us this year. It was about growing and getting ready for the district and the state tournament run.
Yeah, so the quality of competition at both these tournaments has been really good. And as you said, you're playing Sandia, which is undefeated, like you, a defending state champion from last year. These are the kind of fun games you like to have. I mean, there's no pressure on you. All the pressure's on Sandia. This is the Albuquerque Metro tournament. It's not your tournament. You get to go out and just kind of have some fun, and maybe your fans will come down and fill the Sandia gym, which is really tiny, and create a little bit of an edge there. But these are the kind of games, as a reporter, I love them. I love these inner classification matchups between elite teams. And I'm wondering, do you, as a competitor, enjoy that part of it too?
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun. We had a chance to play them last month, but we didn't take care of business on our side of the bracket at Rio. Again, we lost to a really good Rio Rancho team. So it was good. We knew we had another shot to possibly play them, and there's a little bit of relative connection between our 2 teams. I think there's I think one of our girls has a relation with the 2 Benali sisters, and so they know each other a little bit.
You have a girl named, I think, Zoe
Benali,
right.
and then we have Elena Kalani. I think somewhere there's some relative connection.
Right, Sydney Benali from Sandia is from the Four Corners.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, her family roots are there. I can't remember exactly where.
I don't want to speak. I think it's in the maybe Shiprock area.
I think that's correct.
So I think there is some like family ties there, which is good. I think these girls know each other quite a bit, and when we talked about our schedule this year, and some of them, I think our girls were kind of looking at me like I was crazy putting us in playing these games, playing in these tournaments. But I was like, let's go play the best, and we'll see what happens. We're going to go in trying to win that ball game. We're not just going to lay down for Sandia. But it, like you said, it's fun to play these types of games. There's not a lot of pressure in it. Win or lose, we'll wake up Saturday, have another tough ball game Saturday, regardless who it is.
Yeah, look, these games, you want them to pay off when we get to March.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at March.
Whoever you're playing in March in the 4A division, when you think back on games against Farmington or La Cueva or Sandia and whoever you play on Saturday, whether it's Hobbs or Rio Rancho, you want to be able to reflect on this and feel like your kids have that, that proverbial thick skin about what they're going to face, especially a young team, as you mentioned.
Yeah, we wanted to gain experience. I know we had a lot of these girls were on our team last year, but their roles were a lot different. Now they're in those roles that our seniors were in last year. And it is a different feel when you're starting compared to coming off the bench. And so we had to develop new skill sets for those girls in the mindset, really. Right. Develop new mindsets. And like you said, we're preparing for district and for the state tournament. We've had tough games in 4A, Valencia, Albuquerque Academy, Pius. We got to play Gallup at least twice this year, and it could be more, And like I said, when I made the schedule, I wasn't really worried about the wins or losses. I knew we'd be prepared come March. So that was our whole goal, and luckily we're getting a few more wins than maybe I thought, but I think it's going to pay off in the end.
Right, and all those teams you just mentioned, Valencia, Pius, and Academy, all really good 4A teams here in the metro area that hope to make some noise. So, when you combine that with the 5A schools and what's ahead, and we're going to talk about Gallup in a few minutes, but so Kirtland Central wins state last year, 21 state titles, which I think ranks Kirtland Central, top 5 nationally, if I'm not mistaken. How do you describe the uniqueness and specialness of Kirtland Central girls basketball?
I think it starts when they're young. The community buys into basketball is life up there. They're starting to make documentaries about what life is like on the reservation, and these girls, they like particularly with our girls, they've been playing since they're 5, 6, 7 years old. They travel to Phoenix. They'll go up to Salt Lake. Sometimes they go. I know some of our girls were playing on like the CY Fair Elite team down here, and they were going to Louisville. And so it's just a progress of just the love of basketball that just not Kirtland, but the Navajo Nation, the reservation has for basketball. They grow up doing it, watching it. They love anything basketball, really. And
there are so many great girls basketball programs in the Four Corners.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, not just Kirtland. You could talk about Farmington. You could talk about Shiprock. You could talk about Navajo Prep. There are a lot of very storied programs.
Yeah, all those
within a 15-mile radius.
All those girls in those schools have been around each other their whole life, and so, like I said, they've been playing with each other, against each other, for a very long time. And like I said, when it comes to now being in high school, it just kind of, this is the tipping point now. It's really going to see how much love you have, because it is a little different than travel ball. But it's fun, when we have our big rivalry games, whether it was Farmington a month ago, when we play Gallup in a couple weeks, there's nothing like seeing Bronco Arena packed, loud, cheering against you, cheering for you. It's a very unique environment that I think hopefully a lot of people maybe want to try to come play us up there sometime.
I'm old enough and have been doing this job long enough that I remember the days of the Shiprock-Kirtland girls basketball rivalry, which for a good number of years was the best girls basketball rivalry in New Mexico. These two teams were playing in the state finals, it seemed like, every year for a whole block of years.
Yes.
And you'd get to the pit on that Friday night and you couldn't get a seat, and frequently fans could not get into the building.
Yep.
From the Four Corners, because there just were, even when the pit was much bigger, even when it held like 18,000 people, it was hard to get a seat in the building because of the nature of that rivalry. You're from Kirtland. Do you remember this rivalry?
Oh, yeah, I remember a few times coming down and watching them. I don't know if I remember them playing Shiprock, but I do remember them playing in the state championship, and it was still sold out. I remember being at Bronco Arena and having to sit up at the very top just to get a seat when they're playing Shiprock and playing those big ball games. And like I said, it's a way of life out there in Kirtland. They love basketball. They love competition. They love being challenged. And like I said, the parents of our group, they were very excited to see the schedule that they had because they want to see these girls get pushed. It's easy to get wins, but earning wins is a lot different.
So when you played at Kirtland Central, I believe you were part of 3 state championship teams back in the early 2000s. We're talking about, was it 01 through 03 or 02 through 04?
01, 02, 03.
Okay. So describe the difference as best you can in culture, both then and now, between Kirtland Central boys basketball and Kirtland Central girls basketball. The girls are having all the success of late. You won a state championship last year. You won a state title in 2022. And there have been 3 other games you've been in the finals just since, I think, 2019. Describe the difference then and now in culture, if there even is one, between boys basketball at Kirtland and girls basketball.
It's a good question, because I don't know if I have the exact answer to it. I think just the fact that the culture started in the 80s, we talk about that. You get to play for Kirtland Central. It means something, all the banners that we get to see in the rafters, all these girls who've come in here, done the same work that we've done, that have their pictures on the walls now. They're putting in the same work you guys did. And we try to say, you got to try to live up or be respectful to what they've built. We're not the only ones. We're just trying to piggyback off what all these other teams have done in the past. And so what I try to do is we try to do things off the court that prepare us for on the court. So we try to get our mindset thinking about one thing and one thing only. We try to limit distractions off the court as much as we can, dressing the same, travel gear. I don't know what other coaches do, but we take their phones away at the end of the first quarter of the game prior to us, and just to limit any distractions, get off social media, get off text messages. Now it's just, you get to focus on basketball, and we try to have fun here and there, but we're just trying to build it where we're not 12 individuals. We're just one unit and one unit only. When I played back in 01, back in the, like I said, the early 2000s, it was that way. It was either Coach Scott's way or the highway. There's really no way.
And we're talking about Steve Scott.
Coach Scott, yeah.
Right.
Coach Steve Scott, my high school coach, who I still talk to this day. It was his way, or you weren't going to go on the trip, you weren't going to play. And I try to adopt that. I know I'm not near as strict as he was. my former players keep calling me soft now, and which is fine. That's what it is. What it is. But again, we call them the non-negotiables. Like there's just things you have to do or don't expect rewards. Like I said, it's the tiny things, but for some reason, for high school kids, it's the biggest thing. You guys got to dress. You got to wear your travel gear. You got to wear tennis shoes instead of sandals. We just do little things that try to make us look presentable as a team. And I know Coach Valdez, who's the news boys coach up there, he was with us. He was with me up until this year. I know he's trying to institute his own culture, trying to take some stuff he's learned from us and trying to include it into his program now, and it doesn't happen overnight. And again, it takes the girls or the players have to really buy into what the coach is talking about, trying to preach or trying to institute. And again, I think the boys will come around. They're going to come around. But again, speaking of us, when it comes to the girls, we just try to make it where we're one team instead of 12 individuals.
What was your first season coaching the Kirtland girls?
18-19.
Okay. Why was this job appealing to you? I mean, it's your alma mater, but you're coaching girls as opposed to the boys. The program already had an incredibly storied history before you came in. Why was this job appealing to you?
Well, first going back home, going back to where I went to high school.
Where were you? Let me back you up real quick. Where were you coaching before you came to coach the Kirtland girls?
So I was at Bloomfield as a coach for 7 years. I was there for 4 years, and then I was at Piedra Vista when they first moved up to 6A for 2 years, and then I came over to the Kirtland girls. And it was a tough decision because, like I said, I've been coaching boys again for 8-9 years, whatever it was when I first started into education. But again, it was coming home, and I knew the culture. I knew what was expected being around it basically my whole life. And when it was all said and done, I was like, do I really want to move over to the girls' sport or whatnot? And when it was all said and done, I just looked at it. Basketball is basketball, whether it's boys and girls. I'm going to coach the same way. I'm going to do the same things that I did with the boys and make the adjustments to adjust to the style of game when's needed. But to me, basketball is basketball. Winning is winning. Doesn't matter if it's boys or girls. And I just knew it was going to be a fun ride. I knew I would have community support. It's a great community to be around. The administration there is awesome to work with. And so it was just it was hard not to go after it.
You said we were talking about your arena a second ago, which got me thinking. I've never been inside the Kirtland Central gym. Are there 21 individual banners in this gym for the girls?
Yeah, we do.
Some schools have like a poster that just has the list of years that a school has won state in that sport. Other schools like to do the individual banners.
We went the old school way, like Boston Celtics. There's 17 individual banners.
They hang from the rafters, right?
We got.
Is there enough room? I mean, is there literally enough room to hang all of these?
Oh, we still got plenty of room to put more on. So
Okay.
we're hoping to put more on there. Like I said, we did a real redesigning. We put all the girls' championships on one side, put all the boys on the other. We still got 4 as a boys program, which is still good. And then we got a few jerseys on the girls' side that are retired or names that are retired. Then we got one boys who's been retired. So yeah, it's a unique old school feel when you look up into the rafters.
So, when I was an athlete at Siebel, I was part of a state championship team in baseball, but it wasn't really a thing yet to get rings.
Yeah.
We just had our normal class rings.
Yeah.
When you played, were we into that phase yet? Where you have 3 rings?
Yeah.
And then 2 more as a coach.
Yeah.
From last year and 2022.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know when they're getting rings was thing, particularly at the high school
I see.
level.
Neither do I. It's one of those things I'd like to find out. It just seemed to happen, and now everybody does it, and now they all look like Super Bowl rings.
Oh yeah,
Which I've seen actually in person, and these things are so gaudy. I don't know what Kirtland's rings look like, but a lot of times these kids' rings are just humongous.
Yeah, the rings we got last year, we decided we went a little medium size for the first championship, but last year I just said we're going to go all out, and we got the biggest rings that were available.
All right,
to us.
describe as best you can. Describe how big these things are.
So I think I have it on my pointer finger, and it will cover knuckle to knuckle.
Like enough that the finger next to it is off center a little bit because the ring is so big.
Yeah, and you have to work a little bit not to let your finger just it's weighted a little bit. And like I said, we just decided to go big for it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever asked a coach this question. What goes into picking a ring? Okay, so Kirtland Central wins state in the middle of March last year. When do you all get together and sit down? Is there a book that's available to teams that showcases types of rings? Tell me, I literally would like to know what the process is as you sit down with your girls and say, all right, we're getting rings, but what are they going to look like? Who designs them? Where do we order them? Tell me how that process works.
The way it happened for me, and it can change for a lot of other coaches, but when we won it the first year in 22, it was amazing how many emails I got from ring companies. Literally the next week, like we won it Friday,
really?
And
okay.
like that following week, I got probably about within the next 2 weeks, probably 6 or 7 ring companies asking about.
Okay.
And so they kind of reached out to us, and so I really went with the first one who reached out. And
okay, that answers a big question. I always wondered how that process works about how any team in any sport gets married to a company that makes rings, and
so they just reached out. I just went with the first one, and then they give you their website so you can go on. They send you a brochure too, and you just kind of look at the shapes, colors. They have like gunmetal, black, silver, gold.
Can you go online and like mix and match? A specific ring for Kirtland Central girls basketball, whether it's purple or whatever. Can you go in and sort of decorate your own ring and design it yourself, and then send it back to a company and say, "This is what we have in mind"?
So we talk to the rep and we just say, "Hey, we want it to look this way." And he'll put in whatever, he'll send it this way. And if we don't like what it looks, or like, well, we wonder what it would look like in this color or in that shape. Yeah, who we worked with, they're awesome. Their response time is really good on the email. And then this last one, when we won it, I just emailed the same guy that I worked with 2 years ago, and I said, hey, let's get these rings started as soon as we can. And so we looked at the shapes. We went with a different color this last time, and and then that's when we talk to the girls, say what kind of shape do we like, what don't you like, and then we just do a process of elimination, and then we just finally find the ring we like, the color, design, and we put some of our logos or our sayings that we got to do, like KC Loyal and all this other stuff on the ring this year. So it was pretty fun.
I went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame once in 2005 in Canton, Ohio. And one of my favorite features inside the building was there was a display case which had a ring from every Super Bowl winner, starting with Super Bowl one back in whatever year it was, 66 or whatever. All the way through whatever the latest Super Bowl was in 05. And it was really fascinating to see how they grew and become more gaudy.
Yeah.
From when the Packers won the first 2 Super Bowls to the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And how much more gaudy they have gotten.
Yeah.
And I hope to go back to the Hall of Fame again one of these days because it's 20 extra years.
Yeah.
I found that to be really fascinating, watching how the rings, the size, the value. The number of diamonds evolved. It's a It was a fascinating thing. So this is why I brought that up, because there's some high school teams, Cleveland and La Cueva here in the metro area in particular, who have dominated football, and those 2 schools have won a lot of state titles over the last half dozen years. And sometimes I get a look at their rings, and I just think, how do you even put that on your finger?
Yeah.
And it makes me laugh a little bit. It's a high school program, but it makes me laugh a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So let's talk about 4A girls basketball this year. Yeah, you made a quick mention of some of the good teams down here: Pius, Valencia, Academy. So as we sit here, we are 16 days away from the first game you're going to play against Gallup. And I was telling you last night that we're talking about me coming up. I've never covered a game at Kirtland, and we were talking about coming up for this game on a Saturday afternoon between Gallup and Kirtland on the 25th at your gym. simply because these are the top 2 ranked teams. Gallup's been fantastic this year. You guys are having a terrific season. Let's talk about 4A girls basketball. A lot of coaches would say it's really the 2 of you, and then there's a gap to everybody else. Do you agree with that?
You could say that, but for me, I don't like to say that because I think it's going to be a little disrespectful to the other teams because when it comes to the state tournament, you just never know what's going to happen in that first round or when you play at the pit. We both Gallup and us are very talented teams. We do have some luxuries that the other teams don't have as in depth. I think we're the 2 deepest teams. So, like you said, we don't drop off a lot when we go to our bench. And I think some of the other teams, they could be 3, 4, 5 deep, but then when they go to their bench, they may be a little less talented than what we are. So Valencia gave us a tough game. That academy score is a little misleading. We had to grind a little bit for 2.5 quarters before we finally started getting a little separation and control. They were well coached, and like I said, there's a chance we could see them again in the state playoffs. You got Deming down there who's playing pretty well right now. I think Portales is a lot better than what their record shows. They've played I think their first New Mexico games were this past weekend. So they've played a lot of tough Texas schools. So I think they're going to be there right in the end. And then I think Pius will come around. Valencia, like I said, Academy, and all them, they're just tough. But we got 2 very tough 4A games. So we got our district, who it's always scrappy with them. But when we play Gallup, we know we're in for it.
I've watched the Volcano Vista boys quite a bit over the last 3 or 4 years. And when they started this year, everybody thought they were just far and away the best team out there, and they are to a certain degree. But I've seen a couple of games, one against Sandia, one against Hobbs the other night, in which they got down double digits at halftime and had to really work their butts off to get back into the game, step up their defense tighter, start turning teams over, get back into it, and came back and won. And it got me thinking about this question I just asked you about Gallup and Kirtland. Look, even a team like Volcano Vista's boys, which is just coming off a national tournament in Phoenix over the weekend, where their 2 losses were to 2 nationally ranked teams from Southern California. Nothing is for certain.
Yeah.
Even with 2 teams that I think we all agree clearly deserve to be ranked number 1 and number 2, that doesn't necessarily portend that we'll get a Gallup-Kirtland final on that Friday night at the pit.
Yeah, you just never know what's going to happen. You can say since I've been here, it's always there's that year where Los Lunas was very tough, but the last 4 or 5 years, we've only played once in the state championship. We've played 3 times in the state tournament, but it's hard. People don't realize how hard it is really to get to that final ball game of the year. And that's kind of like you said, going back to talking about our schedule. That's why I put the schedule we have together to get ready for that game and get ready for that push when it comes to the state tournament, because we're going to be seasoned. We won't be uncomfortable in those big situations, those close game situations. And it's a fun rivalry that we have right now with Gallup. Like I said, I think we've played 14, 15 times the last 3 years. So I think they're tired of seeing us all the time. But if they're on the schedule, we got to play them.
Yeah. Which is hard? I mean, physically, which is harder to win? Here we have the Albuquerque Metro Tournament, which is 4 games in 5 days against good competition, but it doesn't have the same pressure cooker environment as being in the pit. When in the 4A division, you have to win 3 games in 4 days: Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah. Which is physically more demanding? This is your first time doing the Metro Tournament, so maybe it's hard to answer that until you've played Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, that Rio Rancho tournament kind of opened our eyes a little bit what we were going to see here. When we played down here, it was 3 physical ball games against Cruces, Rio Rancho, and Clovis. We were down one of our players who didn't play 2 of those games, and so it was a grind weekend, and they kind of got a glimpse of what 5A basketball was like. So that Rio Rancho tournament, I think, really got us ready for Highland and La Cueva last night. And yeah, it's going to be a grind. We got a tough one tomorrow, and then we got another tough one Saturday. Right. But it's going to prepare us for that state tournament, But again, mentally, yeah, I think it's more strenuous at the state tournament because it's win or go home, and win or lose when we play Sandia, we're still going to turn around and play Saturday, and win or lose that game, we've got to turn around and play next Tuesday. So the mental aspect, being mentally prepared, I think, for the state tournament is a lot different than what these tournaments bring to us.
One of the last things I wanted to talk about real quick, I came across this morning as I was just looking up some information on you, and I found out, I guess this just was announced in October, that you're being inducted into the Fort Lewis College Athletics Hall of Fame.
Yes, I was.
But it didn't say, the story that I read didn't say, has this already happened or is it on the schedule to come up?
Yeah, it happened this past October.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, to get a chance to go into the Hall of Fame for your college. Tell me what that experience was like.
It was a great honor. I played there from 04 to 08. We had a lot of very successful teams. I still have some lifelong friends who I talk to. The Los Alamos AD, Guy Meyer, he's my buddy. I played with him up there for 3 years. And it's just an honor to be recognized for that individual hard work that I put into it. Like I said, we're in it for the team, but it's nice to get recognized a little bit. Coach Hoffman, Coach Petrak, for the love and support and the belief that they had in me to help me, because my freshman year I wasn't sure I was going to make it. And those two coaches of mine, they really believed in me. They probably put up with more than maybe what they should have. But really, the middle of my sophomore year on, I really got a hold of the college game compared to the high school game. It was a great ceremony. I got to see a lot of people who I haven't seen in years. I saw a lot of the girls basketball team, a national championship runner-up team got inducted. So there was a lot of those girls who, when I was in college, was there. I haven't seen them for 20 plus years. And Coach Kellogg, who was up at Fort Lewis, he's now the West Virginia women's basketball coach. And so it was good to talk to him. It's good to see his success. But when we talked, it was just like it was like I was back in college, just talking. It was just fun. It's a fun environment. Got to go see some of the college games
Right.
there, the football game, soccer, volleyball game. And it's there at Fort Lewis. They have the names of the Hall of Fame inductees. And my uncle, I can't remember, I think he got inducted in like the 90s. So I have a family connection there who he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's just a great honor. I was choked up when I got the call from my Coach Petrak saying that I got inducted, and again, it goes back to I had great teammates, like I said, great teams, great coaches, not just me, but it was an honor to be there.
You were talking earlier about we were talking about the uniqueness of Kirtland Central girls basketball, and you were talking about that communal thing. These kids are all going up together, whether they attend Kirtland or Shiprock or Farmington or PV or Aztec or Bloomfield, whatever, or Navajo Prep. These kids all know each other. Was it the same experience for you growing up, where you had a basketball in your hands as early as you can remember?
Yeah,
pointing toward an eventual career in high school and beyond.
Yeah, I grew up, watching Michael Jordan. Everybody wanted to play like him, and I had a basketball court there in my grandparents' yard, who was literally lived next door to me. So I was out there a lot, during the rain, like a day like today, snowy, wet. It wouldn't have stopped me if I wanted to go shoot the basketball. I'd go do it for a little bit, and that's what people don't see. And I think a lot of girls on my team, they put in that work that people don't see. But back then, there wasn't travel ball. It wasn't as big. At least I don't remember it being as big as it is now. I played in our youth league growing up there in Kirtland, which still goes on today. And then had summer basketball in high school to go to our summer camps and things like that. But yeah, I played other sports too. I played soccer, I played baseball, I did a little track. So I did a little bit of everything, but basketball was my sport that I wanted to really concentrate on.
Yeah.
But like I said, I remember being at my grandma's backyard, just shooting the basketball, and sometimes having to come in at 8, 9 o'clock at night because I just love basketball.
Res ball is so unique for so many communities. One of my favorite stories I ever wrote for the Journal many years ago, I went to Tohajali because I discovered that they just had one tiny gym, and because of the number of teams involved, frequently either the varsity girls or the varsity boys had to practice on the outdoor courts. You know, we don't live in Florida.
Yeah.
We were talking about a day like today weather-wise, which is a little bit gloomy. These kids didn't care.
Yeah.
They just wanted to have a ball in their hands, and if it was cold, what the hell? If that's the way it is, then that's the way it is. I love that about Resball. I mean, we just had a movie made. They shot some B-roll in the pit, I think, 2 years ago, 2022, I think, or 2023 now, that came out on Netflix. Resball just has a special place in New Mexico's basketball heart.
It does. It really, I think it's the center of it, and I think Resball can really, you can say it's not just the style of play. I think it's just the love for basketball that the Navajo Nation, and I'm sure a lot of nations have for basketball. It's not just the Navajo reservation where basketball is loved by so much. But like I said, I think it's just the love of basketball is how Resball can be really be summed up. And, you go to those tournaments like on the weekend, and that could look like Resball. We don't like to say we play Resball. We like to say we want to get up and down. We want to score a lot of points, but we're going to do it the right way too. Like we're going to play defense around it. But like I said, it's just love for the game of basketball.
Which comes, I think, through their communities.
Yeah, 100%.
Through their particular reservation.
Yeah, exactly. There could be some reservations that have a love for a different sport, just
like cross country, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So particularly with the Navajo Nation, like if you go to DePage, Arizona, that's just off the Navajo reservation, or if you go to Monument Valley, Kayenta, Utah, Chinle, Ganado, man, those have gyms. Like Kirtland Central has a good arena. We can fit 4,000 people if we wanted to into the arena. But if you go to Chinle, go to Ganado, go to Window Rock, they have 7,500, 8,000 seat gyms.
Really?
Yeah. And in some games they will sell out, and
I love that.
That just goes back to the love and the importance that basketball has on the reservation.
Yeah. As a reporter, we never root for teams. We always root for good stories. But one thing, every time we get to a state tournament, I always think, man, if we get a great matchup that involves whatever, Farmington or Kirtland or Gallup or Espanola Valley or Tohatchee, which I think just won state or was in the state final in the last couple of years. We love, as reporters, media members, we love the energy that these communities bring to the pit. I'm sitting here with you and I'm thinking, selfishly, I would love to see a Kirtland Gallup state final. I don't know if we'll get that or not. Hard to say. I mean, it's only January 9th. We have 9 weeks until we get to the pit. But as a reporter, thinking about the energy and the heat in the building when we get games like this, and I was thinking back to the Shiprock Kirtland days when we had those two teams playing for like a bulk of years in the state final, and there was such an intense passion about this rivalry.
Yeah.
Not just the geographic part of it, but the basketball part of it and the communities. It's fun to think about those things. I love the energy that the res schools, and as you said, you don't necessarily think you guys think of yourselves as a res program, but the Four Corners and Western New Mexico in particular, all of those schools, like Gallup, the energy these fan bases bring is just different than the energy any other part of the state brings, whether it's the Albuquerque metro area or the teams from Cruces or any team from Santa Fe in that corridor, other than Espanola Valley. I love the passion that Western New Mexico fans and Northwest New Mexico fans from the Four Corners bring. It's just different, and I love that, and it's one of my favorite features at a state tournament.
Yeah, to play in it when I was in high school was very fun, and now to be able to be on the coaching aspect of that, it's just very unique. Like you said, just the passion that all the schools up there have, going down to Gallup, Tohatchee, and all those schools, and when it comes to the state tournament, sometimes we have a lot of fans that aren't from Kirtland. We got a lot of people, a lot of fans from Tohatchee who are rooting for us, rooting for those.
I mean, many of the res communities are rooting for
Yeah.
one another.
Yeah.
I see this all the time. Santa Fe Indians, another good example of a great community with tremendous and a large fan base. These res schools frequently, not all the time, but frequently, man, they are behind one another.
Yeah,
because they're all, I don't know, they're all in that same wavelength, and they all understand the journey, the nature of the closeness of the communities, and the nature of the relationships of the kids who play basketball on reservations.
Yeah, like I said, there's always some family tie within the Navajo reservation, and they want to see the girls regardless of what team they're on, whether it's Gallup, Tohatchee, Navajo Prep, Kirtland, and like I said, even the schools who aren't near the res, Farmington or PV or Bloomfield Gap, they still have a lot of Native girls, and they want to see success too. They root for us, and like I said, when we come down to the state tournament, that's what I think is kind of tough to play Gallup and play Kirtland at the state tournament, is because you're not just getting that community from Gallup, New Mexico, Kirtland, New Mexico. You're getting a fan base that a lot of other schools don't get.
Yeah, so if a Portales or a Goddard or somebody or an Albuquerque school shows up, they're showing up with a couple of hundred fans, and there's Kirtland or Gallup with, maybe anywhere between 6,000 and 10,000 fans, depending on what time of day the game is played.
Exactly.
And it's intimidating. Love the energy, but I could see how it would be intimidating for a school that does not grow up with this.
Yeah, they like I said, it just comes down to love of basketball that we have up there, particularly in the Northwest, and these girls, whether they're competing against each other or like if we see Farmington, our girls want to go watch Farmington play because, again, they've played with these girls. There's that friendship, that love that they have for each other. And
Kirtland's only about 8 or 10 miles down the road.
We're just depending on where you're at, we're 7 to 10 minutes away from Farmington. And like you said, it's hard to put into words. I'm trying to do my best to give our community a little bit of publicity, but it's hard to put into words what it's like to be up there and to be around basketball.
Yeah. All right, Devon. Well, listen, we thank Devon Manning, the girls basketball coach at Kirtland Central, for carving out some time on their day off. I assume, do you let your kids have fun on a day off like today? I mean, you've already practiced.
We practiced and then
go out to dinner, go to a movie, do something like that, just get away from.
We're either going to go to a movie or the girls will really want to go to the mall. So
naturally, okay, I guess
we'll
that's
see what happens. But it's been a good day to kind of relax our body and relax our mind a little bit, and then we'll be ready to go tomorrow.
Well, I thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I will see you at Sandia tomorrow. Once again, Kirtland Central is going to play Sandia, 5:15 Friday at Sandia. If you're watching my podcast, my advice would be get there early. That would include me as well. Kirtland's fans, with like many schools in that area, have a reputation for packing gyms and freezing out local fans. I've seen this happen enough in my life. It's actually kind of comical in a way. So get there early. Sandia is not a big gym, but it's a great gym. Sandia is one of my favorite places to watch a game. So I will see you Friday at Sandia. Right. Devon, thank you so much. Good chatting with you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
Yep.